The Human Factor. Chapter 1, The Zyloxian Conundrum. Dr. Elizabeth Shaw's boots echoed against the pristine chrome walkway as she disembarked from the sleek transport shuttle. A wave of sterile air washed over her, carrying the faint hum of 1,000 unseen machines. The sunlight, amplified by the reflective surfaces of the towering spires that dominated the landscape, was almost blinding. This was Xylox, a planet renowned for its technological prowess, a testament to the Zyloxians' unwavering devotion to logic and data. Shaw, a renowned human geneticist with a shock of unruly auburn hair and a perpetual twinkle in her green eyes, couldn't help but feel a sense of awe mingled with trepidation. The Zyloxians were a humanoid species, tall and slender with pale, almost translucent skin. Their reputation for cold rationality and emotional detachment preceded them, yet Shaw was drawn to the challenge of collaborating with such a different culture. A disembodied voice, devoid of any warmth or inflection, echoed from a nearby speaker. "Welcome to Xylox, Dr. Shaw. Please proceed to the Research Institute for processing." Shaw followed the automated directions, her gaze sweeping across the futuristic cityscape. Sleek vehicles propelled by unseen forces glided silently through the air. Holographic displays flickered with complex symbols and graphs, a constant reminder of this Zyloxian's obsession with data and analysis. The city was a marvel of engineering, but it lacked the warmth and vibrancy Shaw associated with human settlements. Upon reaching the Research Institute, a towering edifice of chrome and glass, Shaw was met by Xylo, a young Zyloxian scientist assigned as her liaison. Xylo's eyes, a deep shade of indigo, studied Shaw with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "Dr. Shaw," Xylo greeted her, their voices smooth and polished as the chrome walls that surrounded them. "We are honored to have you join us. Your expertise in genetics is highly sought after." Shaw smiled warmly, extending her hand. "The honor is mine, Xylo. I'm eager to learn from your advanced technology and collaborate on our research." Xylo hesitated for a moment before clasping Shaw's hand in a brief, firm handshake. "Our society prioritizes logic and reason above all else," Xylo explained, their voice devoid of any emotional inflection. "We strive for efficiency and optimization in every endeavor." Shaw nodded, trying to suppress a chuckle. "I've heard quite a bit about your unique approach to life," she replied. "It certainly is different from what I'm used to." Xylo tilted their head slightly, a gesture Shaw recognized as a Zyloxian expression of confusion. "Different?" they echoed. "In what way?" "Well," Shaw began, choosing her words carefully, "humans tend to value emotions and intuition alongside logic. We believe that a balance of both is essential for a fulfilling existence." Xylo remained silent for a moment, processing this new information. "Interesting," they finally said. "Perhaps we can learn from each other." Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by a series of shrill alarms. The lights in the institute flickered, and a sense of urgency filled the air. Shaw felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. Xylo's expression remained impassive, but their eyes flickered with a hint of worry. "There has been an outbreak," they said. "A virus of unknown origin. It is spreading rapidly." Shaw's heart sank. A virus on a planet renowned for its medical advancements? This was a disaster in the making. "How severe is it?" she pressed, her voice barely a whisper. Xylo hesitated, then spoke the words that would forever alter the course of their lives. "It is deadly, and our technology is proving ineffective." A wave of dread washed over Shaw as she grasped the magnitude of the situation. Xylox, the bastion of logic and order, was facing an invisible enemy that threatened to unravel its very foundation. And in this moment of crisis, she, a human, might hold the key to their survival. Chapter 2. The Desperate Plea. The weight of a dying world pressed heavily on the Zyloxian High Council. Their faces, usually placid and unreadable, were etched with lines of worry and exhaustion. The holographic projections that filled the council chambers painted a grim picture. The virus's relentless spread, the mounting death toll, and the growing panic among the populace. High Counselor Zalara, a figure of imposing stature with silver hair and eyes as cold as Xylox's frozen poles, addressed the council with a voice that brooked no dissent. Our efforts to contain the virus have been inadequate, she admitted, the word inadequate grating against her pride. We must consider all options, no matter how unconventional. A murmur of surprise rippled through this chamber. Unconventional? For a species that prided itself on logic and data-driven decisions, this was a radical departure from the norm. Counselor Xylo, a young scientist with a spark of curiosity in their indigo eyes, spoke up. I propose we consult with Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, the human geneticist. Her research on genetic adaptability and immune response may offer valuable insights. Zilara's lips thinned into a disapproving line. A human? She scoffed. Their species is known for their emotional instability and lack of discipline. How can they possibly offer solutions that we, with our superior intellect and technology, have not already considered? Xylo stood their ground, their voice steady and unwavering. Dr. Shaw's expertise is unparalleled. Her work on human resilience to various pathogens could be the key to our survival. After a heated debate, the council reluctantly agreed to consult with Dr. Shaw. An invitation was dispatched to Earth, outlining the dire situation on Xylox and requesting her immediate assistance. Shaw arrived on Xylox with a mixture of apprehension and determination. She was greeted by Xylo, whose quiet enthusiasm was a welcome contrast to the general atmosphere of suspicion and distrust. Thank you for coming, Dr. Shaw, Xylo said, their voice softer than the usual Zyloxian monotone. I believe your expertise will be invaluable. Shaw nodded, her gaze sweeping across the sterile laboratory. I'm ready to do whatever I can to help, she replied, but I'll need your cooperation and access to all relevant data. Xylo led Shaw to a state-of-the-art genetic sequencer, a marvel of Zyloxian engineering. We have already sequenced the virus, Xylo explained, but its structure is highly complex and constantly mutating. Our attempts to develop a vaccine have been unsuccessful. Shaw studied the data, her mind racing as she analyzed the virus's genetic code. She noticed a peculiar pattern, a series of repeated sequences that seemed to defy conventional logic. This is interesting, she murmured, her fingers tracing the patterns on the screen. It almost seems like the virus is intentionally adapting to our countermeasures. Xylo's eyes widened. Intentionally? They echoed. That is impossible. A virus is simply a biological entity devoid of consciousness or intent. Shaw smiled enigmatically. Perhaps not, she replied. Viruses are remarkably adaptable. They evolve to survive, just like any other living organism. But this virus seems to be evolving at an accelerated rate, as if it's learning from our attempts to defeat it. Xylo pondered Shaw's words, a flicker of doubt clouding their usually rational mind. Could a virus truly possess a form of intelligence? The idea was preposterous, and yet the evidence was undeniable. Together, Shaw and Xylo delved deeper into the research, their collaboration fueled by a shared sense of urgency and a growing respect for each other's intellect and intuition. They were an unlikely pair, a human geneticist known for her empathy and a Zyloxian scientist devoted to logic. But in this time of crisis, their differences might be the key to unlocking the secrets of the deadly virus and saving Xylox from destruction. Chapter 3, The Human Advantage. In the heart of the Zyloxian Research Institute, a hushed intensity filled the air. Dr. Shaw, hunched over a holographic display, traced the intricate patterns of the viral genome with her finger. Her brow furrowed as she compared it to the Zyloxian DNA sequence, a sense of excitement bubbling beneath her focused concentration. Xylo, standing beside her, observed Shaw's every move with their characteristically neutral expression. Yet a flicker of anticipation danced in their indigo eyes. "What have you found, Doctor?" they inquired, their voice barely a whisper. Shaw straightened, a triumphant glint in her eyes. "The key," she declared, her voice filled with a quiet confidence. "The Zyloxians have a remarkably homogeneous genetic makeup, a testament to their controlled breeding programs. But this lack of diversity has left them vulnerable to this novel virus." Xylo absorbed this information, their logical minds struggling to reconcile it with their ingrained beliefs. "But our medical technology is the most advanced in the galaxy," they protested. "How can a simple virus defeat us?" Shaw smiled gently, her human empathy shining through. "It's not about technology, Xylo," she explained. "It's about evolution. Humans have been exposed to countless pathogens throughout our history. Our immune systems have adapted, becoming incredibly diverse and resilient. This is our advantage, our human factor. Xylo's eyes widened, a spark of understanding igniting within them. So you believe that human antibodies could be the key to a vaccine? They asked, their voice tinged with a newfound hope. Precisely, Shaw confirmed. By isolating the relevant antibodies from human donors and adapting them to the Zyloxian physiology, we can create a vaccine that will trigger their immune response and provide immunity against the virus. Xylo nodded thoughtfully, impressed by Shaw's ingenuity. It is an elegant solution, they conceded, but I fear it will be met with resistance. The Council is wary of anything that could be perceived as contamination, especially from a species they deem inferior. Shaw's expression hardened, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. We don't have time for prejudice, she declared. This is a matter of survival for both our species. Xylo's gaze met Shaw's, a silent understanding passing between them. They were an unlikely pair, a human and a Zyloxian, united by a common goal and a growing respect for each other's strengths. News of Shaw's proposal spread quickly through the Institute, sparking a heated debate among the Zyloxian scientists. Some embraced the idea, recognizing the desperate need for a solution. Others, led by Counselor Xylara, vehemently opposed it, clinging to their belief in Zyloxian superiority and rejecting any form of outside intervention. Shaw and Xylo found themselves at the center of a political storm, their every move scrutinized and questioned. But they refused to back down, their determination fueled by the escalating crisis and the unwavering belief in the power of collaboration. In secret meetings and whispered conversations, they rallied support from those who shared their vision. They presented data, argued their case with logic and passion, and slowly but surely, they began to sway the tide of opinion. The battle for the human factor was not just a scientific endeavor. It was a clash of ideologies, a test of courage, and a testament to the enduring power of hope in the face of overwhelming adversity. Chapter 4. A Race Against Extinction. The once pristine streets of Xylox were now marred by a growing sense of despair. Holographic news feeds flickered with images of overcrowded medical facilities, their sleek surfaces now stained with the grime of illness and fear. The air, once crisp and clean, hung heavy with the scent of antiseptic and decay. Inside the Research Institute, the atmosphere was a tense mix of urgency and exhaustion. Dr. Shaw, her auburn hair now streaked with silver, worked tirelessly alongside Xylo and her team. Their eyes were bloodshot, their hands trembling from lack of sleep, but their determination remained unwavering. "We're running out of time," Shaw said, her voice hoarse from days of shouting over the whirring machines and incessant alarms. "The virus is adapting faster than we can counter it." Xylo, their usually pale skin now tinged with a sickly green hue, nodded grimly. "The Council's inaction is costing us valuable time," they rasped, their voice betraying the toll the crisis had taken on them. Despite their efforts, the vaccine development was fraught with setbacks. The virus, a cunning and relentless foe, seemed to anticipate their every move, mutating and evolving at an alarming rate. One day, as Shaw hunched over a microscope, examining a sample of the virus, she noticed a peculiar anomaly. The virus had developed a new protein structure, one that seemed designed to evade the human antibodies they were using in the vaccine. "Damn it!" Shaw exclaimed, slamming her fist against the table. "It's like the virus is fighting back, learning from our every attempt to defeat it." Xylo, peering over her shoulder, shared her frustration. "We need to find a way to outsmart it," they said. "But how?" Shaw's eyes narrowed as she studied the viral protein. A daring idea began to form in her mind. "What if we use the virus's own adaptability against it?" she mused. "What if we could create a vaccine that not only targeted the current strain, but also anticipated its future mutations?" Xylo's indigo eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. "It's a risky gambit," they cautioned, "but it might be our only chance." Meanwhile, outside the Institute, the public's patience was wearing thin. Protests erupted in the streets, demanding action from the High Council. Holographic banners flashed messages of anger and desperation. "End the plague! We demand a cure! Trust the humans!" Xylara, watching the unrest from her office window, felt a pang of unease. The once unquestioning faith in the Council's wisdom was now crumbling, replaced by doubt and fear. She knew that time was running out, not just for her people, but for her leadership as well. One evening, as Shaw and Xylo worked late into the night, a surprise visitor arrived at their lab. It was Zilara, her face drawn and haggard. "I've seen the data," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The virus is winning." Shaw and Xylo exchanged a surprised glance. Zylara's presence, especially in such a vulnerable state, was unexpected. "We're working as fast as we can," Shaw assured her. "We have a new approach that might just work." Zylara's eyes narrowed. "The human factor?" she asked, her voice laced with skepticism. Shaw nodded. "It's our best hope," she said. "And it's more than just genetics. It's about collaboration, about working together to overcome a common enemy." Zilara remained silent for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection of the virus's ever-changing structure. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible. I underestimated you, Dr. Shaw, and your people." A flicker of hope ignited in Shaw's heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, the tide was turning. The Zyloxians were beginning to see the value of collaboration, of the human factor. And with this newfound unity, they might just have a chance to save their world from the brink of extinction. Chapter 5. The Turning Point. The hum of the Zyloxian biosynthesizers filled the lab, a symphony of hope rising above the despair that had gripped the planet. Within the sterile chambers, the first batches of the vaccine shimmered, a testament to the fusion of human ingenuity and Zyloxian technology. Dr. Shaw, her face etched with exhaustion, watched the process with bated breath. Beside her, Xylo's normally stoic features were softened by a cautious optimism. They had taken an enormous risk, defying tradition and prejudice to pursue a radical solution. Now the fate of Xylox rested on the success of their gamble. The first round of trials yielded promising results. The vaccine, tailored to the Zyloxian physiology, triggered a robust immune response, effectively neutralizing the virus. A wave of relief washed over Shaw and her team, but they knew this was just the beginning. The news of the vaccine's success spread like wildfire, igniting a flicker of hope in the hearts of the Zyloxians. Public opinion, once firmly against the human-based solution, began to shift. The streets, once filled with protests and despair, now buzzed with cautious optimism. Counselor Zilara, however, remained unconvinced. "A few successful trials do not guarantee widespread efficacy," she argued, her voice a cold counterpoint to the growing excitement. "We cannot risk the lives of our people on an untested solution." Xylo, their voice unwavering, stepped forward. "The data speaks for itself, Counselor. The vaccine is safe and effective. We must act now to save our people." Zylara's gaze hardened, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. She had built her career on logic and data, and the evidence was mounting against her. A tense silence filled the council chamber as Zilara weighed her options. The fate of Xylox hung in the balance, a single decision poised to alter the course of history. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Zilara spoke. "Very well," she conceded, her voice barely a whisper. "Proceed with the mass production and distribution of the vaccine. But I will hold you personally responsible, Dr. Shaw, if anything goes wrong." Shaw nodded, her heart pounding with a mixture of relief and determination. This was a victory, not just for science, but for the power of collaboration and the triumph of reason over prejudice. The Zyloxian manufacturing facilities, renowned for their precision and efficiency, kicked into high gear. Within days, millions of doses of the vaccine were ready for distribution. The logistics were a nightmare, but with Xylo's help, Shaw navigated the labyrinthine bureaucracy and ensured the vaccine reached every corner of the empire. The results were nothing short of miraculous. The spread of the virus slowed, then stopped altogether. Hospitals began to empty, and the streets filled with the sounds of laughter and celebration. A collective sigh of relief swept across Xylox as the shadow of extinction receded. Zilara, witnessing the jubilation of her people, felt a pang of regret for her initial skepticism. She had allowed prejudice to cloud her judgment, almost condemning her species to annihilation. In this moment of triumph, she resolved to learn from her mistakes and embrace a new era of cooperation with humanity. Shaw and Xylo, standing side by side on a balcony overlooking the revitalized city, shared a knowing smile. They had overcome seemingly insurmountable odds, not through brute force or technological superiority, but through the uniquely human qualities of empathy, ingenuity, and collaboration. The human factor, once a source of derision, had proven to be the salvation of Xylox. And in this victory, a new chapter in interspecies relations had begun, one built on mutual respect, understanding, and the shared pursuit of a brighter future. Chapter 6, A New Dawn. A gentle breeze whispered through the newly planted gardens of the Zyloxian Research Institute, carrying the sweet scent of alien flora. The once sterile chrome walkways were now adorned with vibrant flowers, a testament to the Zyloxians' newfound appreciation for the beauty of the natural world. Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, her face etched with a gentle smile, strolled alongside Xylo, their laughter echoing through the tranquil gardens. "It's hard to believe how much has changed in just a few weeks," Shaw mused, gesturing towards the blossoming landscape. Xylo nodded, their indigo eyes filled with warmth and gratitude. "The virus taught us a valuable lesson," they said. "We cannot rely solely on logic and technology. We must embrace the full spectrum of our being, including our emotions and intuition." Shaw reached out, her hand gently brushing against Xylo's arm. "The human factor," she murmured, her voice filled with pride. "It saved your world, Xylo, but it also opened your hearts and minds to new possibilities." Xylo grasped Shaw's hand, their touch surprisingly warm and comforting. "You have taught us so much, Elizabeth," they said, using her name for the first time. "You have shown us the power of empathy, the importance of collaboration, and the beauty of diversity." Their friendship, once an anomaly, had blossomed into a symbol of unity and hope. The Zyloxian people, once wary of humans, now embraced them as allies and equals. The High Council, under Zalara's reform leadership, initiated a series of cultural exchange programs, inviting humans to share their knowledge and experiences. Zyloxian scientists, inspired by Shaw's methods, began incorporating intuition and creativity into their research, leading to breakthroughs in fields as diverse as medicine, engineering, and art. The once rigid and hierarchical Zyloxian society was gradually transforming, embracing a more inclusive and collaborative approach. Empathy, once seen as a weakness, was now recognized as a strength, fostering deeper connections between individuals and communities. One day, as Shaw and Xylo watched a group of Zyloxian children playing among the flowers, a sense of profound satisfaction washed over them. They had not only saved a world from extinction, but had also ignited a spark of change that would shape the future of both their species. "I never imagined that I, a simple human geneticist, would have such an impact on an entire civilization," Shaw confessed, her voice tinged with humility. Xylo squeezed her hand. "You are not just a geneticist, Elizabeth," they said. "You are a catalyst, a beacon of hope. Your legacy will live on long after you are gone." Shaw smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. She knew that her time on Xylox was drawing to a close, but her work was far from finished. She had planted a seed of change, and it was up to the Zyloxians to nurture it and let it grow. As Shaw boarded the transport shuttle leaving Xylox behind, she couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. But it was a bittersweet sadness, tempered by the knowledge that she had made a difference. She had helped to bridge the gap between two vastly different cultures, proving that even the most unlikely alliances could flourish in the face of adversity. The human factor had not only saved Xylox, it had also transformed it, ushering in a new dawn of understanding, cooperation, and hope.